There, just in front of his car, we've got Josh, his race engineer. Now, each car is a race engineer. That's who we hear talking to the drivers during the race. They're in control of the car setup, talking to Esteban through all of the details of this race. But in this instance here, they're making sure the car's ready to go, everything's at the right temperature, and when Esteban comes to get in, they have a race situation that they understand fully.
So Josh on the right-hand side
Josh
here,
on the right-hand side.
And he's talking on his little talkback panel here to all of the mechanics and different sets, and then a tyre guy as well.
Exactly, yeah. So he's controlling the car, if you like to think of him as a conductor of the orchestra in this particular case. And he is talking to the pit wall, he could be talking to the factory. Lots of factory? He could be talking to the factory, yeah. They can all hear what he's saying, trying to make sure that that car is ready to go whenever the lights go out.
Okay, you'll recognise some of the team principals on the grid because they're here as well. There are two of them at RB. So there's Peter Baer on the right and Lauren McKees on the left. They're also accompanied by, because you have to be Fabi Valenti, she's in charge of the PR here at RB. Where the team boss goes, you've got to have somebody who's marshalling them. That's fair enough.
Exactly. We all follow it at home, so we see the photos that comes out from all of the different companies, all the different marketing. So those are the people that are responsible for that. The team principal obviously sits above the race engineer, looking at the decision that he's making, trying to make sure that the cars are all working as they can.
Now, time is critical. Let's have a look at this top stopwatch around the neck of Mark Slade, who's of course Kevin Magnussen's engineer. So will that be on a count up or a count down?
So that'll be on a count down to race start. We always talk in minutes to go to lights out, if you like, minutes to go to the start of the formation lap, and they will actually sync that to the FIA time in this weekend, and that's the first thing they do whenever the countdown starts earlier today.
Now, of course, you spent many happy years as a strategist for McLaren and for Aston Martin, but strategists aren't on the grid, are they?
No.
Instead, they're on the pit wall, and I think I can spy a McLaren strategist.
A friendly strategist.
Hello in there. Hello, Randy. Are you there? That's Randy Singh, of course, the McLaren strategist. There we go. And why do the strategists stay on the pit wall?
Because strategists love data, Ted. You know that about me. So we're always keeping an eye on the weather conditions, the track temperature. They will be feeding that information to the race engineer, and the race engineer will be coming back to them asking about wind conditions or different things.
Who have you spotted? Who are these chaps and what do they do?
So again, we've got another race engineer coming, but then we've also got a tyre mechanic. So in the hat, just there you can see, commonly known as Biscuit. One of the great things in Formula One is that most people have a nickname, and whenever you try and email them, you can never remember their real name. So Biscuit is a tyre mechanic on Lance Stroll's car.
Okay, so
what he's doing is he's checking that the tyres that are about to go on the car.
But he looks like, so Biscuit's doing a remote bleed here, it looks like, or a remote tyre pressure adjust.
So he'll be doing a tyre pressure adjust. That needs to be done before the tyres go on the car. He's checking that they're at the right pressure, they're all up to temperature, that everything's ready when this set goes onto the car. And you notice there's a set currently on the car as well. That'll come off and the new ones will go on.
Yeah, okay, so that's fascinating actually. And that's something that people might not realise, is that there is this remote. You don't, when you pre-pressure all of the, come round here Kieran, when you re-pressure all the tyres, you don't have to go through all the fuss of doing them individually because they each have their little remote bleed on here.
Exactly, so they all have a bleed, and that just makes it convenient for them because they're in this big stack, so he doesn't want to have to take them all off and on all of the time. We're getting a lot of heat from these Aston Martin lots.
No, we're not. No, we're not. Thanks, Biscuit. Excellent. And then you've got a chief mechanic as well. Not a chief mechanic, but, well, you do have chief mechanics. But you have a sort of head of engineering.
Yes,
and that would be, in Aston's case, Tom McCulloch here.
Tom McCulloch, yeah, my old boss.
Why is
He's looking nervous as well, isn't he?
Why does he need to be? Well, let's ask himself. Why do you need to be on the grid, and what's your job on the grid?
That's a really good to oversee, making sure that both race engineers, both drivers, both number one mechanics are happy, feeding information between the two cars and just getting a feeling for what the track's like.
Sounds good, Tom. I think he's explained it pretty well, hasn't he?
What happens, thank you, Tom, what happens when something goes wrong? Who would be a sort of floating crisis person?
There's lots of floating crisis people, but a few people have spotted here.
In the case of a crisis.
So a few people have spotted here that we can explain as well. So just at the back of the car here, we have Jin tyre engineers. So with those tyre mechanics, we have a tyre engineer that's working to optimise tyre performance, and they're often the person giving the direction to the tyre mechanics as to what pressures and temperatures to set things at.
Okay, all right. What about physios? We can see this is Alex Albon's car. Patrick, his physio, sometimes comes onto the grid. Sometimes there he is. Unmistakable ginger beard here with Patrick. So all the physios will be on here. Leaf blower to keep the drivers cool, and all of their stuff in here as well. AA Mexico. So he had the special helmet for Las Vegas. Did Alex Albon has now gone back to the Mexico spec.
Yeah,
but important to have the physio on.
The physio, very important job. One of the things that people maybe don't realise is they are just for the driver. They very rarely do a role within the team outside of that, looking after that driver, making sure he's at the correct weight for the start of this race. We often have cars coming in overweight and that, or underweight, and that is responsibility of the physio generally.
Okay, and what about, I mean, we've got the FIA here, they have to keep an eye on it, but what about the scrutineers? There is a scrutineer here for each car appointed by the FIA, and they need to keep an eye, there's another one behind the Mercedes here, they need to keep an eye on anything that mechanics are doing, but how do they know what's allowed and what isn't?
So the scrutineer will change track to track. That's not someone that travels with the team. Most of the parts on the car actually that can be removed are labelled up. So they're keeping an eye that a part that comes off is the same one that goes back on.
Okay, listen, Bernie, fascinating. I could go on. We're only got up to Lewis Hamilton's car. We've got many more people who we need to know. The electronics guys, the car's engine will not fire out without them.
Yeah,
so they
exactly.
have their laptops there and they're ready to actually fire it up. So we will pick this up and do more Bernie's people on the grid sometime next year. But that's it for now. Simon, what kind of people have you mixing with at the front of the grid?
Mixing with some very talented pundits, there's no doubt about it, if I can call them that. And let's get into, this wind. It was blowy yesterday. It's arguably a stronger wind today.
It's picking up all the time. It seems to have got onto the grid. It's got stronger as well, and it's a headwind down the main straight. That's good news for us. It could potentially see more overtaking because of that. Creates more drag, as of course it hits the cars. But for the drivers, it's going to be pretty tough work as they navigate this high-speed circuit. It's going to blow them all around.
And it could make the start really interesting too. I mean, obviously George got a really good start in Vegas, so let's see how much pressure he's able to put Lando on. But for cars that are tucked up behind them, they'll get a real strong slipstream with this headwind down into turn one. So let's keep an eye on that as well.
Important this, we know for McLaren, 25 ahead at the moment, 45 ahead at the end of the weekend. The constructors is theirs. They've got a good opportunity with both cars ahead of the Ferraris to increase that gap.
This track, we thought it before we even came here, this is a McLaren track. They have to make points while they can.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. That is final preparations. The helmet goes on for Lando Norris.